In this next gaming video, I'm going to show you how to create the 3 different types of intro, game over and congratulations screens that you might want to create for your game. These are a static image, a full motion video or a slideshow. First of all, to demonstrate, the static image just fills the screen with a single image. Very simple. This is the most straightforward method that we're going to use. Secondly, a video takes a few more moments to load, but then shows a full motion video which will be jerky on this screen capture, but will just play on screen and then you just click to come off. And finally, the slideshow, which is going to be a bit psychedelic, so I warn you ahead of time, just goes through various different images and shows them one after the other. So, starting with the static image form, the way that we build a static image is quite simply on our image we set our background image to the image that we want. So we go find an image, import it, and load it up. We then set how we want the layout to be. Now in this case we want to use zoom. Zoom makes sure that it stays in the right aspect ratio in terms of width and height, and then will always resize to the screen resolution that you are using. The disadvantage of this is that the grey bars of the form will appear around the sides if the resolution does not match the same aspect ratio of the picture. To get around this, set the back colour of the form to whatever the main colour is of your static image, probably black as it was in this case. To do the intro video, we need to add a new item to our toolbox. So we right click on our toolbox and select choose items. This brings up a dialog box that will take quite a few minutes to populate because it's loading on everything that you have on your computer that can possibly be added to a Windows form. And because the capture program's running, it's warning me that speed is an issue on this computer at the moment. The item that we're going to look for comes under COM components. These are components which can be accessed by any program within Windows, very simply and straightforwardly. And all we have to do is find our Microsoft Media Player control. As you can see, the COM components are in alphabetical order, and almost right at the bottom there is this component Windows Media Player. If you select that and hit OK rather than cancel, as I have done because mine's already on my form, you'll see there is a Windows Media Player control within your toolbox. All you need to do is drag that control onto a form and it will create an object called AX Windows Media Player 1. What we are going to do is set windowless video to false, UI mode to full, stretch to fit to false, and at the top here, dock equals fill, CTL enabled equals true, enable context menu equals true, full screen equals false. I'm then going to have a look at the code for this, and as you can see we do all the code that we need within this one set of the initialization of the form, which is where we reset the context menu to be false, windowless video to be true, the UI mode to be none. This next line here, that I'm highlighting now in red, is the actual video you want to play. It has to be a video that plays within Windows Media Player. Once you have done that, you then click the button that says play by running that line of code. This will then automatically play the video. The next thing we need to do on the video itself is click on a little diamond and create a click event. And the Windows Media click event, when you double click on it, is simply to close the form. This will allow you to play a full motion video as an intro animation without any worries about controls appearing on the screen. But as I say, it does take a few moments for the video to load. The final method, the slideshow, requires you to just add a timer control to your form, and we set the properties of this to not be enabled from first of all at an interval of perhaps 100 milliseconds. It doesn't really matter at this point. We also then need to click on the lightning bolt and double click the timer to end up with a timer 1 tick. Now the code that we're going to put in first of all is a series of global variables, these three at the top. We're going to create an integer called frame, which says which frame we are on, an array of bitmaps called screens that matches the number of pictures that make up your slideshow. We're also going to create an array of integers called timings, which is going to tell us how many milliseconds between showing each image there is. So you don't have to use the same length of time between each picture. In the form initialization, we're going to add the following code. First of all, you need to add in every single bitmap that you have got. So in this case I only have 2, so I have 2 lines. They are my 2 that I'm adding into my array. Screen 0 and screen 1, the first 2 boxes of our array. And I'm creating 2 new bitmaps that I've stored actually within my project folder itself. So I have a folder called images and background and object. I then set the timings to 1000 milliseconds per item, and I tell the computer to set the time of 1 interval to our first frame's timing, 1000 milliseconds, and set the background image of our form to the first image. I then enable the timer. The timer then runs, and the process of the timer running should be as follows. First of all, disable the timer, because we don't know how long it's going to take to run this piece of code, and we want to try and make sure that at the point where the picture appears on the screen it's going to be whatever matches the second timing before the next picture shows. So what we do is first of all move on to the next frame, frame ++. We then look and see, is this number greater than the number of screens we've got? If it is, loop back to the start. If you don't want your animation to loop, at that point you just want to finish the program and put a else in here. As we do want ours to loop, we're then going to add in the next image. So we set the timer's interval to the next one, set the background image of the frame of the screen to being the next image, and then re-enable the timer. If I wanted to change it so that it didn't loop round, all I would do is take out the code there and replace it with an open and close bracket, and then add an else statement and wrap everything that's left in that timer around it. This means that the animation will only run once, and at the end of that animation the last picture will stay on the screen. The final thing again we need to add into our form, which should already be on your forms, is make sure our form has a click command which closes the form. And they are our 3 methods of producing our initial images, and we can use those for the introduction sequence for the game over sequence, and the completion sequence.